Ghana Means Business, brought to you by Goil. Goil, good energy.
Ghana Means Business. Your story, our message.
Empanifo say obi nimo obi kire enu nti na tipronko agina no. Patricia Paloko, the American author and illustrator, said, "Genius is neither learned nor acquired. It is knowing without experience, risking without fear of failure. It is invention without limitation." On this show, we are honored to bring you a revealing conversation and an interview with an illustrious son of the land whose contribution to the development of our dear nation has been unprecedented and is still being recorded in the annals of our history. This is your host, Nana Fredi Agyeman-Pamboa.
Ghana Means Business. Your story, our message.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Ghana Means Business. Your story, our message.
Look at heart surgery and look at the function of the heart. This is mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, plumbing work, vessels and so on. So I love it.
Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng is a current Minister of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation. He is also General Cardiothoracic and Vascular Surgeon who had his studies in Hanover University at Germany. He is also the first black person to have done a successful heart transplant in the world in 1985. He left the comfort of Germany where he was working and came to Ghana to spearhead the establishment of the National Cardiothoracic Center at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng. Prof, please tell us, who were you before you started medical school?
Before I started medical school, it's a long story. I was born in a village at the end of the world called Jankoban. It's supposed to be the ginger capital of the world. But there's something I want to tell you, the details of which were not known to me until very late, a couple of years back. My parents married, those days quite young, and a young lady got pregnant, and my father was traveling from Tano Dumasi to Kumasi, and he had an accident on the Bibiani Road and was killed at the age of 23, 24.
And how old were you?
I was in a womb. I was born 4 months later. And from the narration, which I got to know just about 15 years ago, he did not die on the spot. He was taken to the Bibiani hospital and probably died of chest injuries. And that, when I got to know, it had an effect on me, and it helped me to do a few things in life. So I was born in that village, attended school from class 1 to class 6, and that was the limit. That was up to class 6. And after class 6, the students had to go to
Middle
school, but there was no middle school in the town, so you either go to Tuansi or in Carrier.
Prof,
yes.
Growing up, How different were you from your peers, and did you enjoy any special privileges?
Well, the first 10 years, 11 years when I was in that village, primary school, it was brilliant. I mean, it was a village. Nobody had running water. We didn't have toilets in the house. We all went to the riverside or to the pond or to the well to fetch water. We all went to the public toilet, school. Nobody had a car, So, I mean, we didn't know anything about being rich or poor. It was normal village life. And so it was in Accra that I got to know that there were poor people, there were rich people, and so on.
So in the village, everything was normal. You grew up knowing that you were all the same.
You were all the same.
And then you came to Accra to stay with your aunts. And then all of a sudden you realized the disparity. Yes. Naturally, that must have had an influence on you.
Certainly, yes.
How did it have an influence on you?
The influence being that I was in the Bishop School in Bubuyashi, BBMS, Bishop Boys Middle School. And those days, there was one very popular international school in Accra called Penworth Kindergarten. The main campus was opposite the Carnation Market. Now, I remember a guy called Andrew Susudis. He was the classmate of my friends, my cousins, and so on. So that name stuck. I don't know where he is now. Okay. I guess he's a brother to the Susudis.
Michael Susudis.
Yes, Michael.
Okay.
But Andrew, he was Andrew. He was the school prefect.
Oh, wow.
And they were privileged. They went to school in school buses. We had to walk. And then they had an annex beyond Bubuyashi. And when they were passing, they were laughing at us. BBMS is Bishop Boys Middle School. And they were calling us Banku Brothers Middle School. So I passed the common entrance and passed the interview. But something happened and I couldn't get anybody to sponsor me to go to senior school in 1962. So I had to go back to the village to continue the middle school. And so I went to middle Form 3, Form 4, passed, sat for the common entrance again.
The middle school living certificate.
Yes.
You had to complete another 4 years of that.
Yes.
Before sitting for the common entrance
again. That is 2 years after the first common entrance in 1962.
Which you had passed.
Which I had passed. So in those days, if you remember, if you went to Form 4, you were not allowed to choose the so-called first circuit schools. Like I decided that I was supposed to have gone 1962 or
Fancy Pim or any of them.
Any of those. So I had to choose one of the educational trust institutions, Secondary College. And thank God I chose Secondary College.
How was your experience at Secondary College?
It was brilliant. I mean, one thing I know, you see, I knew from a very early age that education was my survivor. I had no doubt about that. Because there was a teacher in the primary school, it's called Emmanuel Esampong, who was a people teacher. And he told us in 1959 or thereabout that he finished Form 4. He's not a teacher. A time is coming when you have to have a degree to sell stamp at the post office. True. That's what the teacher told me.
And it was, at that time, it was almost incredible.
It was incredible. Why should he say that? Mm-hmm. So I knew that to go up, you have to learn. And I saw that I was a little bit smarter than my classmates all the time. So education was for me key. And so Secondary College was brilliant. I mean, I went to Form 1 and then after 1 year, I was promoted to Form 3. I skipped Form 2.
Wow. So
did the O-level in 4 years.
Okay.
And after O-level, I passed, and those days in Nkrumah had this so-called pre-science. So I came to Legon to do pre-science. That was equivalent to 6 form.
Okay.
And then went to medical school.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Prof.
That's God's
mercy
and his work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hanover, Germany. Yeah. Tell us about your experience.
Also brilliant. I mean, after medical school, I did 1 year housemanship in Konebu. And then about 1 year, a few months in Kofonochi in the gynecology department, pediatrics. And then I applied to do my postgraduate in Germany. Had a response, but I had to learn the language. So I went there to do 6 months of language training. And then I started work in November of 1978. So I attended an interview, which was a very strange interview, in the sense that my chief, Professor Bost, Hans-Georg Bost, excellent person. I mean, he's an angel to me. He called me when I was in language school that I should come and see him. I went there, and on one-on-one, he talked to me and told him, I'm from Ghana, I want to come and work, and so on. And after 5 minutes, he called all the professors. He was the chairman of the surgical department, faculty, and also the head of the cardiothoracic department. So when they came, I remember them, Professor Chani, Pichumaya, and so on. And he said, look, this young man, Dr. Frimpong-Boateng, is from Ghana. He wants to work with us. I've talked to him. Do you have any questions? And they were all quiet, you know. And so that was the interview, the end of the interview. Okay. It was 2 weeks later that the general interview was held for the rest, my German colleagues, and they took just about 7 out of 45 or so. So
what year was this?
This was in 1978.
Prof, tell me, what is your most notable achievement at the Hanover Medical Center in Germany?
A few things, but the major one was my first heart transplantation in 1985, in October 85.
Was it the first time a person of African descent had done something like that?
That was what the German press reported. That was the first time a black person, not throughout the world, not even the US, had done a heart transplant. And, but that doesn't mean that I did not have any experience in that. I had assisted others more than 50 times. But that was the first time I led the team to be in charge of the transplantation. And that was followed by many dozens of heart transplants, including the first heart and lung transplant as a package.
As a package?
As a package,
heart and lung
together.
This was also at Hanover?
That was everything in Hanover. Apart from these, there were certain operations which I introduced to the world, you know.
Tell us.
Now, for example, there's something, my colleagues in Kolebu know that, something we call the Frimpong-Boateng sternocleidomastoid oesophageoplasty.
Hey, Prof, can you say it again?
It is called Frimpong-Boateng sternocleidomastoid myocutaneous oesophageoplasty. Let me explain it.
Okay.
Some people, especially children, they take in acid or caustic soda.
By mistake?
By mistake. And burn their throat and then the gullet, what we call the esophagus. When it happens like that, they cannot swallow. And so we have to do an operation, depending upon the length. So usually, if it's a long segment that is burnt, you have to go into the abdomen, take a segment of the large colon, large intestine, the colon, you pedicate on its blood supply, and then tunnel it under the breastbone, join it in the neck, and then into the stomach, so that the child can swallow again. When the segment is short and is limited to the neck, before then, everybody was doing the same thing, remove the whole of the gullet and bring in the colon, the large intestine.
Okay.
But what I did was you expose that segment that is narrowed or closed. You split it so that you have a normal lumen up, lumen down. And then this muscle here in the neck, what we call the sternocleidomastoid muscle, you dissect it and then take a portion of it with the skin. And then you go in there, turn the skin inward, and breach the narrow portion with the skin. And then you close it, so that you don't have to go to do anything in the abdomen. It's a very simple, short operation. And it saves time and a lot of efforts, and that is what.
So, Prof, how did you come about? Is this something you just sat down, dreamt about, or it came to you?
I think it's God's work. I mean, I give an example of a case we had in Germany, a lady who had a heart transplant, and the wound got infected, the breastbone, that affected the heart itself. So the joint, every now and then, will bleed. And so one of my colleagues was supposed to restore that thing. The woman was bleeding, he got frustrated and left and said I should come. So when I went there, I just stood there at the table and said, God, what do I do? And then instantly, something occurred to me that I should open the abdomen and take the apron, that thing that covers the intestine, remove it, and pedicate on this blood supply, tunnel it from the abdomen into the chest, and then wrap the heart around it, and then fix it onto the heart with tissue glue. And that was the only problem. So you ask me, how did it? And this thing has been published in the world literature. A lot of things that happened. And I like my life in Germany because I'm a very disciplined person. And when I saw the discipline and hard work in Germany, it was wonderful.
Ghana Means Business. Your story, our message.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Ghana Means Business. Your story, our message.
Of all the areas of medicine, please tell us, why cardiovascular? What is the singular push that led you on this path?
Three things. The first one was when I was here in Accra. Those days there was a girl called Teresa, who had a hole in her heart. So there was constant advert for her, for money for her to travel outside for surgery. And she didn't get that money, so Teresa died. It was reported in the graphic. That was incident number one. Number two was a friend of mine called Akwabwa, who was behind me. His elder brother was my classmate, but he was behind us. And when he finished Form 4, he went to Kumasi to study or to learn shoemaking. And then I remember those days, shoemakers had a wooden board on their laps, and a very sharp, short knife, yes, with which they cut
the leather. Yes.
Akwaba was cutting the leather, the knife slipped, and then went into his groin and cut the vessels in the groin. He was taken to Kofanoche. But those days, talking about 60s or late 60s, they did not have the surgeons, vascular surgeons in Kofanoche. They do not have the sutures that are used to suture blood vessels and prosthesis or nothing. So they sutured it anyhow. In the end, the leg got rotten and it was disarticulated at the hip. And so Akwabwa had only. So when I got to Hanover and I saw how simple it is to repair such injuries. I mean, it would take me 10 minutes to repair that thing. And then when I remember that my father died in an accident, he was crushed, the chest. So I can imagine also if that happened. Maybe he had a pneumothorax, that is air in the chest cavity, or blood compressing the heart and so on. So and look, it did not take me 5 minutes to
have saved his life.
Yeah, exactly. But those days in Bibiani, nothing, no chest tube, nothing, no chest X-ray. So I said, look, I have to do this thing so that no child's father would die from such an injury. So 3 major things. And the fourth one was the fact that I had this mentor in the person of Professor Boss who was prepared to help me. So these are the things that pushed me into cardiothoracic surgery.
I think it was a worthwhile and worthy ideal that pushed you. Prof, what year did you decide to return to Ghana?
I decided to return to Ghana the very first day I started working in Germany.
And why did you want to come back? Because you had an incredible opportunity to stay in Germany, to become a celebrated surgeon, and live the life that most Ghanaians desire to spend in Europe. So what made you decide to return to Ghana?
You see, heart surgery started in Ghana with Professor Ismond. And he did the first open heart surgery in 1964 in what is now called the Ghani Theatre.
At Kolebu?
At Kolebu. He did 2 cases because I had the opportunity of talking to Ismond before he died.
Okay.
Very wonderful person. And those days, Ghana was using the technology that the rest of the world was using.
Okay.
They did not have hard-lung machine. They did what we call surface cooling. You know, they would put a patient to sleep, put him in the bath, pack ice on him, drop the temperature to about 33 or so. When the heart was stopping, they would quickly open the chest, and they have maximum 10 minutes or so to repair everything. That was very traumatic, you know, very strange. But he did it. The first patient survived, and then the second one died. So he stopped around after 1966. After him, some surgeons came, but they were not able to establish a cardiothoracic center. So when I was in Germany, I knew all this history. I knew all these surgeons. I said, look, with my knowledge, with my skills, with my attitude, if I don't go back to Ghana to start from where Ismond stopped,
okay,
it may take 50 years, 100 years before another person will come who had the skills, knowledge, and attitude I have to continue on. So that was the thing. So you see, we are all very special, and I know what I can do in this country, and I know that if I don't do those things, or you, it would take 50 years, 100 years before another Nana Pambo will come and do the thing. So it was to bridge that gap, because Ismond left in 1964 and I came back in 1990. So look at the time lapse. If I had not come, maybe this project would never have happened at all. So I came back at the age of 39 to set up the National Cardiothoracic Center.
Prof, what were your initial challenges?
My preparation to return to Ghana started the day I started work. Okay. I told my boss that I'm preparing to go to Ghana from today. So I bought a lot of used equipment, you know, with my own money. That's what we started the project with. So in 1981, I came to Ghana for the first time. Visited Kumasi, and if you remember, Dr. Prempe was the administrator.
Yes.
And he says, Kwabena, I did what you have so much. This is stuff for Kumasi, take it to Accra. So he dismissed it.
Okay.
I come to Accra and nobody embraced it. So every year I was coming until somewhere in 86.
86?
I think so. I met Atuahoy. So I narrated my story to him during the PNDC days. And he said, oh, but it's not a bad thing that you are suggesting. I'll tell P.V. Obin. And so I didn't meet P.V. Obin, but he gave instructions to Minister of Health that they should meet me to hear my story. So there was a meeting in Kolebu, some professors were there, and because of the pressure from PNDC, they accepted it. But it was not wholeheartedly. But I want to say one thing. The fact that Chairman Rawlings accepted that project.
So did you have to see Chairman Rawlings at that time?
No, I never saw him. The first time I met him, that's why I'm saying this story. The first time I met Chairman Rawlings was in April 1992, when he came to commission the project. And the fact that he did it without even knowing me, seeing me, told me that he didn't do it out of political expediency, but he was very convinced about the project. And so Kwesi Botwe dealt with him, Usua J, P.V. Obin, Atuahoy, and Sapon, and a host of other people. It wasn't easy. Even the World Bank didn't want that project.
Wow.
But the Kwaku support stood his ground. Said, we want this thing done. That is why, but when I came back, the government did not have money to put up the building. So I started the block with my own money. We bought that center without 1 cedi contribution from government. That cardiothoracic block, government didn't contribute 1 cedi. But as far as the equipment is concerned, the German government gave a surprise credit to buy the equipment. And the funny thing is that before I came for 12 Ghanaians or 7 Ghanaians to join me in Hanover to be trained, nurses, technicians, and so on. So they came back to Ghana in 1987. But when I came back, finally, and I wanted to work with them, Kolebu refused to give me the people I had trained. Yes.
They had absorbed them already.
Absorbed them to different departments. He said before they came to Germany, they were working elsewhere. So I told the Germans, and they brought me 7 Germans.
German nurses.
Nurses, technicians, and so on, and doctors, cardiologists, anesthetists, intensive care specialists, and who stayed with me for many years, 7 years. And then we started training the Ghanaians. And I thank Germany for that. They told me they had not done anything like that before. They would support malaria thing, but to send high-powered doctors, nurses, technicians for a hard project outside, that was the first time. And they did it because of Frimpong-Boateng. You see, I always say that Ghana is not a country worth dying for. But it is precisely for that reason that you should die for this country. See, if you die for a country that you expect to give you something good in return, it's no sacrifice. If I do something for you and expect something in return, it's not. And always I'm guided by what I know to be God's thoughts. I know that I have something to contribute, which nobody else can do for now. And nothing that happens to me will change my attitude. I will continue to do what I'm doing because we are still not secure.
That is true.
We have to come to a point where we can stand on our own.
Cherished viewers, Professor Frimpong-Boateng cannot be contained in one interview. He cannot be contained in one episode. For that matter, stay tuned, same time, same place at your favorite show, Ghana Means Business, to watch the concluding episode of our interview with this pioneering innovator. See you on Ghana Means Business.
Next week on Ghana Means Business.
For a human being to be able to do something, you have to learn to do it. If you are not able to do it, then there's something wrong with your learning process. And therefore, if we have all these educational institutions in Ghana, universities and so on, and we still have to import everything from toothpick to aircraft, then there's something wrong with education.
Absolutely.